Okay, so I don't know if you've noticed, but at the beginning of the video when I showed you my Glock and my Ruger holsters, along with this one, I like I like a lot of cant up in my holster, and so when I grab it, I can grab it up and then present it. Okay, including this one. Well, same thing I did with this is that this is my belt right here. These almost have the exact same cants, like the angles, and that way I can hold out and present the firearm. And I know, finger on the trigger, don't get on me. So what you're going to do first in the process is draw your pattern out. And so you're going to take your firearm and you lay it out whatever way you're going to holster it. So if you're going to be, it's going to be different in the camera, but for mine, for whatever way you holster, if you're left-handed or whatever, put the grip towards the right, and if you're right-handed, put it towards the left. Okay? So this way, you have your correct side, because when you make the holster, now it's going to be facing you instead of me. It's going to be coming out this way. Okay, this is up, and I can't write backwards, but this is up right here towards you. Okay, and the next thing you want to do is make whatever angle you want it to be, and so make this at a 90-degree parallel, plane, horizontal. And this is just going to be a rough layout, okay? So this is going to be like your belt line here, okay? You can see that. I like to carry in my holsters at about a 30 to 45. Not so much a 45 because that's just too much to bring it up. So more like a 30. And I'm not going to get a protractor out to do this. But about that angle right there is what I like. And so, depending on where, I'm just going to trace the outline of the firearm onto a piece of paper. Making sure not to move the angle of the pencil too awful much. Okay? So there, you have your firearm laid out. I'm going to lay this over here. Now, from here, you're just going to want to kind of sketch, whatever you want for a design. Just going to sketch it onto the piece of paper and up here. And this is not going to be my final design because I've already got a design made up, and you'll see it in a second. But this is, I'm just kind of telling you, this is what you do. And then you put your belt loops over in this area here, and your belt loop in this area here. Okay? So this is going to be your layout of your holster. Now this is much bigger than mine. I mean, not really much bigger, but kind of higher, so I would have come down like so and laid it out for you. Okay? So I'll get into the next one and I'll show you what I have already the design for this. Okay? Okay. So every time I look at this, it reminds me of a cowboy boot, like a toddler's cowboy boot kind of. Not what I was going for, but if you turn it here, you can see the holster design, and you can see the layout that I made of the firearm right here. And it is an exact match, and when this is not all folded up, of the holster right there. Okay. But what I have is a pretty streamlined leather holster with stitching every 1/4 inch, and these are just pretty much guesstimated holes, these stitching holes. I didn't measure them out to perfection, But for the most part, when it comes out to the top, the stitching looks proper as can be. And you can see that there. Okay, and so I did poke holes in here, but that was to poke into the leather to where I was going to punch this out, and this is where the hole punch comes in here, like the leather punch, and then right here in this area, these little sides can either be cut out with an X-Acto, or like I said, I like to use a chisel and just knock this whole little section out here, okay? And also with this section right here. And so all this dark line here is a stitching line. Now most people are going to use either a sewing machine or they have a tool which goes along and scribes this and makes an indentation right here, and you can run it along the lines, and that will proceed to be your sewing line. Well, as you can see, and like I mentioned, I don't have that tool, and the tools are just outrageous for the resources I already have. So the way it's already set up now is going to work just fine. But I'll kind of refine this line here and bring this up a little bit more on my next one and go from there. So I'll go to the next step, or the next thing I'm going to show you is a possibility for you later on. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. How it can be. Like I said, I have two different pieces here, and starting off with this piece, I have a little piece I'm going to cut off here. Scrap pieces like this can be great for later on. This could be a strap or something else for another holster later on. But I kind of had a plan with this, since these are two different complete colors. Having one on the inside and one on the outside is going to be no problem with me. They won't be, one side's not going to be seen other than when it's, you know, off the body, which is not a big deal because it won't be reversible in the long run, as this one will not go for a left-handed shooter now because it is molded somewhat to the right side. So what I'm going to decide is, let's see here. If I put this on the outside, it'll be a stronger on the outside and then softer on the inside. And this is much, as you can see, this is a thinner ounce, a lighter ounce material compared to this. Hopefully you can pick this up on the camera. You can see this one over here on your left is much thinner than the one on the right. It doesn't seem like it's much thinner, but it will be when it's sewn up and everything. It'll be much thinner. And so I think I'm going to put the lighter one on the outside and the softer one on the inside, and that will prevent any damages that's going to happen to the outside, and this won't be too bad. Okay. So I'm going to lay this on here, and since this is going to be on the inside, we'll have to figure out how this will fit on the inside, not just like so. Okay? And so what we're going to do is, really, the pencil doesn't really write on this leather very good. It doesn't describe it very good. So we're just going to take this straight scribe all looking deal. All, as in not A-W, not A-L, but A-W-L. By sewing all. which I don't have one because those are another $15 investment, which I don't have, you know, the extra play money to go get one when I have the tools already right now. And if you have a store like Harbor Freight in your area, they do have them for like $5 or $6, and I actually have one in my town. Just too lazy to go back and get one. Okay, so you just kind of scribe it in on all sides. Make sure you get all sides. Okay. And I don't know if you can see that, but there is a light scribe mark on the outside of that. And then this one is going to be the opposite side, of course, on the smooth side. So make sure the rougher side is on the inside. And there's not very many bad parts here, so we'll just go ahead and make sure you're right up against your template. Okay. And if you can see that one, that's a rough cut, rough scribe of this side of the template. And so I'm going to turn the camera off for a couple minutes, cut this all out with an X-Acto knife, and come back to you and show you more. Alright guys, so actually off camera, I went back to my stock of leather that I've purchased over the past week or so, and I found another piece that's going to replace the back piece. This was going to be the back piece, and like I said, it was going to be two separate colors and thicknesses and types of leather, kind of. But I got to digging and remembering that I had this piece left over. And I was using this one actually cut on the back of, but I went ahead and used it. And so my pieces will be the same thickness and strength and everything. They are slightly miscolored, but that's not going to be a big difference, big change, because I'm going to end up dyeing both colors. So I'll just show you a little bit of the process of cutting it out. I've already got the start cut, but basically now you just have to be very careful and make sure you don't slip around anything. Like the big industrial guys, they just have a giant rolling press, and they just put their dye, their dyes on it, and it just cuts it straight out. And unfortunately, I'm not that kind of. I don't have that kind of money for just a couple projects, and so if you just take your time, the leather will come out just fine. And this stuff is pretty thick and strong. So you have to take 2 or 3 different passes on it. Like I said, this is my second time, and I'm almost done with my second round. That's round 2. And when you look at the back, like this one has lines because I was using this yesterday to cut this one out, and I was cutting through it. But you can see when it starts getting through. And so my start point just got through. And so I'm going to go back the other way and cut the fibers, I guess, the other direction more or less. Because, like I said, this stuff is very very strong. And this is a brand new blade. And it wears your hand out in no time. Go back and start cut. Now if I had something like a bandsaw with a small thin blade, I know I could do it on there because I've done that before. And this little square edge I will be rounding off later with the sander anyway, so that's not much of a big deal to me. And this edge right here I'll be rounding off. And so the corners, I mean it's a little square, but you'll see the process and when I run everything off in the drum sander. Now, like I said, the edges get a little tough, and they don't always look very pretty. But I mean, for me, they don't have. Like I said, it's a holster made by me, and I know it's made by me, so I'm not looking for complete. I'm not looking for crossbreed holster. Quality. I'm looking for quality, but it's quality handmade. And this is the point where it's thin enough I can kind of saw back and forth. And get this last little bit off, because it's not very thin. So gotta be careful not to make any major oopsie type cuts. You gotta watch your fingers on the back side too. So there's the back side to the holster. Okay, and this can be cleaned up a little bit with sandpaper, and they have a product that they're called Targum, I think it's something like that, and that would basically slick this up. But I'm not looking for that. When I finally get the fitting and everything, this will be slick. And this, it looks like a very small piece, and to be honest, it is a very small holster compared to your everyday other holsters. Let's see here. We can just take this, my angled blade I was telling you about earlier, and just get all these little frilly pieces off. Simple as that. Alright, there's one side. Now, I apologize if my battery runs out or not, but I'm going to start this, turn the camera off, and I'll come back when I'm almost done with it. And it'll be just like this, just the opposite direction. Okay. So I've got the other side cut out. It is much rougher. It was actually a little bit thicker than I thought it was. This is the original piece, and it kind of kicked my butt, to be honest. So now I've got two pieces here, a front and a back, and they match up pretty good. Okay? So we'll move on to the next piece, and I'll show you what exactly you're going to do, or what I'm going to do anyways. Alright. Okay, so as you can see here, I got a piece of wood with plenty of holes in it. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to match these up as good as I can. Okay? And I'm going to take this one side and we're going to simply clamp the crap out of it. And that's just so it won't move. There's no glue on this side yet. And it's still pretty uneven. I don't know if you can see the unevenness, sorry. There. And we could just take the curved X-Acto blade and simply kind of form it. But the drum sander in a few minutes will be much quicker and cleaner. So what I'm going to do is just take one of my two bits, and I've got a 1/16 bit and a 5/64 bit. It's very small bits, but you don't need any bigger. I mean, really, you don't. And just make it so the tip won't touch. And what I like to do is drill from the outside side. So on this holster, it would have been this side on the outside down. So all your imperfections are on the inside. Now to say that, there's not going to be very many imperfections. It'll just be cleaner looking. I have one more hole I need to get in right there. Okay. And even though I did punch holes on both sides, okay, I'm sure you can see both sides have holes, this will be much easier.